You likely heard the news, right? Cyberpunk 2077 is being delayed from April 16th, 2020 to September 17th, so we have to wait 5 months longer for this very promising looking game. It's fully playable now and actually has been for a couple of months, according to CD Projekt Red during an investor call shortly after the delay, but there is still work to be done. Not only do we intend the game to be better than The Witcher 3 artistically, we also want to elevate CD Projekt to another level business-wise. So yes, take your time CDPR if that means that we get a better game in the end, but it's hard to not see the major impact that this delay will have on the gaming industry as a whole. Like, some companies are in panic mode now because an almost Rockstar style product is in a very central spot on the calendar. Let's look at the overall impact, things you might not immediately think about, like release dates for other games that become way more clear now, and I want to touch on some more CD Projekt Red info that we got from this investor meeting. A like on the video would be really appreciated, and let's go. First up, a quick reminder that I'm doing a giveaway for a 2020 game of your choice on your platform of choice. All you need to do is follow the link in the pinned comment for a chance to win. Would be nice if you are a subscriber of the channel as well before you enter. The winner will be selected on the first day of February. So good luck. And yes, you can of course still choose Cyberpunk 2077, a game that CD Projekt Red wants to be their crowning achievement for this generation, and postponing launch will give us the precious months we need to make the game perfect. Cyberpunk is going to be massive, and they want to make sure that every part of the game is polished enough, so they want to play test it even more, although the first feedback that they got from these tests have been very positive. They are, by the way, confident that the game will be out in September. We should not expect any more delays, according to CDPR, as a response to one of their investors. And I thought this question from an investor was very interesting. I'm just wondering, what would you think about your competition for a September release date? Because typically other AAA games will be launched at a similar time. Referring of course to games like FIFA that always releases at the end of September and is massive in Europe, or Call of Duty that now seems to go for a mid-October slot, and it's of course also a first-person shooter. And we actually saw another big title the other day move to September, Marvel's Avengers. It got delayed from May 15th to September 4th. And sure, it's obvious that Cyberpunk 2077 will sell more, but I don't think that we should underestimate the power of the Avengers, one of the biggest entertainment franchises on the planet. The marketing budget will be enormous looking at Marvel Games and Square Enix, and I think it will be a solid title too, looking at the recent track record from Crystal Dynamics. At least it will take some mindshare in September. We believe that our game, a deep single-player RPG with a nice story, will find its place on the market regardless of date. So that's our approach, CD Projekt Red said in a response to September being a crowded month. And I think they are totally right. I think Square Enix is more likely to look at the calendar now and think, damn. They also, by the way, want to release a third-person co-op shooter, Outriders, in the summer of 2020 from People Can Fly. And I'm curious if that got moved now too, because of Cyberpunk and Avengers. You would think that releasing two live service type of games from the same publisher close to each other is not really smart. No, but the biggest publisher with their hands in their hair must be Ubisoft. At the end of 2019, they delayed all their announced big AAA games to the second half of 2020 to ensure their quality. And even before these delays, during every investor call, there was at least one person asking about Cyberpunk and if they are planning their releases around that. And now Cyberpunk releases in the middle of where they plan to launch 3 or maybe even 4 of their AAA games. And by the way, while editing this video, I saw that the Ubisoft stock price also decreased following the Cyberpunk 2077 delay. And sure, we know better, but mainstream people, a demographic that Ubisoft needs to sell their games to, could be looking at the dystopian near-future version of London in Watch Dogs Legion and compare it to Night City of Cyberpunk, and think the two games are pretty similar and go with Cyberpunk instead. I mean, we know it's third person versus first person, and the fact that you can play as every character will help set Watch Dogs apart, but both are open world RPG style games in a futuristic setting. They will be compared, and while I think that both titles will be great, Cyberpunk has way more eyes on it. So I really think this means that Ubisoft can only do one thing, and that is release Watch Dogs Legion before Cyberpunk. Have it out before people can choose to buy the game from CD Projekt Red instead. It's kinda comparable to the Red Dead Redemption 2 scenario. That came out at the end of October, so Ubisoft had to release Assassin's Creed Odyssey at the beginning of October instead, while normally Assassin's Creed games tend to release at the end of October, like we even saw with Origins the year before. So maybe they had a September date planned for Watch Dogs. I now think they are going for August 18th for early access for special editions, and then a full release on August 21st. That will really be the best and smartest time to release that game, or maybe even a week earlier if they want it. I really don't think there's another option. October would be after Cyberpunk and just too close to the new Assassin's Creed that, according to rumors, is planned as a sort of Black Flag situation at the end of 2020. So where it will first launch on the current gen systems and then be at launch of the PlayStation 5 and Series X as a sort of next-gen game. And the launch of the PS5 and Xbox Series X is of course another big thing that is going on this year. Publishers want games that are focused on the current-gen hardware, so showcased on the PS4 and Xbox One, like Watch Dogs Legion, to launch before the next-gen systems. Otherwise, these games will look old if you release them after the new consoles are out. And that's why everyone is aiming for an August, September or October spot, and why Cyberpunk's new release date really doesn't help. Another game that is kind of in trouble is Ghost of Tsushima. I really can't wait for that game. The new trailer looks amazing, but that is also a PS4 game that they want to get out before the PlayStation 5, because Sony wants to focus on this next-gen system and likely has PS5 exclusives planned for launch and beyond, so that even a cross-gen version of Ghost of Tsushima will not look as good next to the new Horizon that will likely be purely made for the next-gen hardware. Rumors suggest that Ghost of Tsushima was first planned for spring 2020, but now we know that it's summer 2020 thanks to the new trailer, and that likely happens because The Last of Us Part 2 got pushed to the end of May. The summer is from June 20th to September 22nd. End of June might not be smart because it's too close to the summer period and also still pretty close to The Last of Us Part 2. During the Cyberpunk 2077 investor call, it was also noted that they will pause the Cyberpunk promotion a little bit during the summertime, because that's not the best time to bring out a lot of news. Typically, that's the time when people take holidays and not necessarily follow the news, according to CD Projekt Red. And this also applies for game releases. We never see big ones happen in July. Maybe Ghost of Tsushima will change that, but no, I think that August is a way more likely option, because again, you want to ignore September with Avengers and Cyberpunk. But yeah, the delay of Cyberpunk does mean good things for games in the spring. Doom Eternal on March 20th, Resident Evil 3 Remake and Final Fantasy VII Remake, that all release close to each other, will now have more eyes on them because of the Cyberpunk delay. And just like The Last of Us Part 2, that would of course already be big, but can even go more mainstream now thanks to the absence of the CDPR game and Avengers. I really hope that Dying Light 2 can hit the spring 2020 window. It now has a lot of room to shine in May or maybe early June. The game looks awesome and can get way more sales now that it's less crowded. By the way, the delay of Cyberpunk and Avengers also means that we will see them at E3 and even Gamescom again. You bet we're going to have some sort of presence at both Gamescom and E3, but it's really early to comment in any detail. You can assume we will be present there to some extent, and that is what CD Projekt Red said during the investor meeting. But overall, the hands-on sessions and preview moments are delayed. They were first planned for February and March, and will now happen even closer to the release. So I totally think we should expect a new trailer at E3. Sony is of course skipping the convention, but with these delays we at least know that we can expect some new Cyberpunk and the Avengers stuff at the show. And that Batman game from Warner Montreal will likely also have a big presence at E3, if it's not out yet already then. Where is that game going to fit in the second half? October, like Arkham Origins, seems like the most logical option. But yeah, that's another game that will likely release during that crowded summer 2020, second half of 2020 time window. And we have to remember that Arkham Origins did not get a next-gen version when the PS4 and Xbox One released a month later, so it could be similar here. CD Projekt Red always said that while our games are always designed for strong machines, we are thinking about next generation, but for now we are focused on the current generation and the plan is still valid. Likely meaning that Cyberpunk will not get a next-gen version until after the new consoles have released. So not sure who will be strong enough to wait for the next-gen versions. I will totally be buying it day one. But oh man, I think it's going to be a bloodbath right before the next-gen consoles release. And then we did not even touch on games like Gods and Monsters from Ubisoft. That now has to bank hard on the Switch release, I think, because it will be a hard sell for hardcore console gamers in that second half window, because they got many other titles to play as well. And will Rainbow Six Quarantine be fine? Does Ubisoft want to release that zombie co-op game close to Call of Duty Black Ops 5 that will likely have a zombie mode too, or close to Cyberpunk? Both are first-person shooters. Man, I really can't wait to see how Ubisoft responds to this and what their second half of 2020 rollout will be. In the games industry, there's no time of the year where we could say that any given month is safer for whatever reason. So in that regard, we don't see September as being more threatening than April or June. And I kind of agree with CD Projekt Red right there, although it's hard to deny that this second half of 2020 is looking extra crowded than anyone wants. We only have so much money and time that most will just spend on a few of these games, while likely others will fail. It will be fascinating to follow, and I hope you are along for the ride as we cover everything here on the channel. So totally subscribe for everything on Cyberpunk, the upcoming Ubisoft games, Marvel's Avengers, Ghost of Tsushima. Can I clone myself with all these releases being so close to each other? How will I be able to cover them all? And then we also likely have an Horizon sequel and the next Assassin's Creed close to that. Time will tell, I guess. If you got any tips, drop them down in the comments below. Like this video to support the channel. And by the way, early access on my big Sunday video about Horizon 2 should be up like by the time you watch this. If you hit the join button next to the subscribe button, you get 2 days early access and without any ads. And it's of course a cool way to support the channel as well if you like the content. We'll launch Sunday for everyone, by the way. You can also check out my recent video on why after a disaster year Ubisoft has to get 2020 right, something that seems to be more challenging now after the delays. For now though, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.